Welcome back to the Reality Guys. I'm your host, Billy Blinks, joined as always by my co-host, Brian,
All right, buddy.
and special guest, friend of the show, the TARstorian, co-host of the RTV Warriors. It's our buddy, Logan Saunders. What's going on, brother?
Not a whole lot right now. Good afternoon.
It's been a while, brother. We miss you.
Yeah, well, what was the last podcast we did? We did an episode of 35 together, I want
Probably.
to say.
Probably
Then you
about
did the
that.
preview with us, I think.
Oh,
You did a
yes, the
preview.
pre Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
So the 36 preview, yeah. So it has been a little while, and we're glad to catch up. Obviously, we'll talk about the stuff too you have going on with at the end of the podcast. But obviously, as always, guys, your first time joining us, we do run through a pretty straightforward recap, comment on everything as we go forward, and like I said, when I say Logan knows the most about the Amazing Race of anybody on the internet, he definitely does. So this will be a good one for you, Amazing Race fans, our little loyal Amazing Race fan base. Guys, this episode, season 37, episode 4, there's no addresses in the jungle. We did have some navigation issues again, and everyone knows at this point, I'm a big sucker for navigation issues. I love it when the cab drivers take them to the wrong place. I love when it's like the team split down the middle which way to go, and inevitably they're always wrong, right? I really enjoyed it. We went to Bali, Indonesia, about a 3,000 mile flight south out of Japan. Guys, I just want to get your impressions off the top before we get into all the nitty gritty. What did you think of the episode? Logan, I'm going to kick it to you, brother. What was your impressions tonight?
Yeah, it was really interesting to see the driver's seat twist. I got a lot of messages from current and past alumni asking, "Oh, have they ever done a driver's seat twist in any of the international versions?" And Uh, the short answer is no. This was definitely a debuting twist, so a lot of people were trying to figure out how it was going to work. And then last week during the preview, people were zooming in and saw the weight distribution on the board. And actually, I this is a twist that the showrunners Bertram and Elise have been contemplating for a really long time because when season 27 was airing, they couldn't do a speed bump in India for whatever reason.
Mhm.
So the non-elimination penalty was one person or both members had to do the roadblock, which was a variation of the Norwegian version's non-elimination penalty. So then I wrote on Twitter like, "Oh, thank God they're doing something other than a speed bump for once." And then Elise, who is the co-creator and showrunner of the show, she said, "Yeah, we've been actually mulling about with different non-elimination penalties for years, and one of the ideas we've had was to whichever team got saved by non-elimination, they'd have to run the rest of the race with a 10 or 15 weight, 10 or 15 pound weight in their backpack for the rest of the season. But we just never did that twist." So it's funny that that conversation on Twitter was from like 10 years ago, and they found a way to loosely implement it here as a driver's seat twist like a decade later since that tweet.
I like both those that idea though, like the weight for the rest of the race, maybe just like the next
Mhm.
leg, but the rest of the race is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like the weight of your decisions. I like that.
What
I do.
Logan,
I
what did you
do
think
like
of
that.
it? Like I know this is like since you've seen so many, how would you rate this new twist?
Yeah, because with Amazing Race, they either implement a twist that's just too extreme, like the head-to-head twist, which I have a feeling will probably be coming back by season's end, where that twist is. Have you guys seen the seasons that use the head-to-head twist?
I have not, so
I
No.
I can't
I
remember.
don't think so.
We watch too
Yeah,
many shows.
they only used it for 30 seasons, 30 and 31 in the US version, but it's a common twist in international versions. But for the US version, they made it more extreme where there'll be a task, and the first two teams at the task show down. Whoever wins the task goes to check into the pit stop, and then the losing team waits for the next team to show up.
Oh,
And then the last place team that loses the final showdown is automatically eliminated.
Oh,
In
damn.
the
it's
other
like a duel.
Yeah. And in the international versions, it would always happen at the start of the leg or the middle of the leg. So the losing team would usually get like a 15-minute penalty
Mhm.
on an hourglass. But with the US version, they did it where it's no, you're eliminated if you fail at this task right at the pit stop.
You're
Wow.
executed immediately, like immediately
Yeah.
killed.
Yeah.
Wow. I
And
kind of
then
like that. I kind of like to see
I
that.
think it's I actually don't mind that. I mean, that's that when did we you started coming on what 34, 33? Is that what our first season, Bill?
I think
Something around there,
33.
33 or
Yeah, so
34. Yeah.
we just missed that, but we'll get it. We'll get it on the
We'll get it on the backswing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there'll be twists like that that are too extreme, and then you have other twists they've done, like the hazard that they had for a one-off, where it was just an extra task a team had to do for being last at the starting line task, or the intersection where you just do it very briefly for one task and then you split off and you don't reunite again. But here it was that happy medium where it was interesting enough to see it play out, but not have like a huge impact on the whole rest of the race or the rest of the episode.
And obviously we'll get to it, and I'm not going to jump ahead. I'll hit through the things, but the real problem with that advantage this week is that Jonathan and Anna got it, and that really is the worst part of the advantage.
Oh, and I was also just going to say that they used their express pass immediately, so we didn't really see like them, because then they had to like redistribute weight, right? Because like now like they could have taken a heavy weight set and like maybe gained a little more favor with other people. So I guess the ripple effects of that could be.
We'll see next week, but
yeah.
We start off with said, let's get us to Bali, right? Or Bali. Jeez, I'm going to do this all day. Most of the teams make the first flight, a few in the second flight. There's going to be a common theme going out throughout this episode. Bernie and Carrigan didn't make it, right? Bernie and Carrigan making it as far late as you could make it. This team has had a rough go the first 3 weeks, and it didn't get any better to kick off this leg, guys. A lot of bickering that also is going to continue as we get right up to the order board, the position board before the ATVs. But Bernie and Carrigan, guys, what were you thinking about them early on? I mean, I kind of had speculation early they were not going to make it out of Bali.
They were given the biggest freebie here. Like the flight was 3.5 hours behind all the other flights. Benefited from a massive equalizer. Like in most modern seasons, if there wasn't an equalizer there, Phil would have been coming out to location. Yeah. So because that's just where the budget is nowadays with a lot of versions of Amazing Race. But they're given the biggest freebie, and they still really don't take advantage of, even with getting penalized with the extra weight at driver's seat. They were still a lot closer than they were back when they were in Japan, and they just couldn't come up with a good game plan or really excel at any tasks other than the singing task on the first, or the dancing task on the first leg.
Right, because they like just every single thing, there was like a little blunder they had that just added time. Like just like them even not reading a sign that's blatantly right in front of them, and it's just like then we get the little cymbal sound.
Whatever like 20 times this episode.
No, there was again, and this is something we've talked about a few times already on this season, Logan, and see if like you can comment on this as well. We talk about that kind of travel equalizer. We talked about Jack and Carson early on in the episode dropping all the way down to 9th just because of their cabs before the order, right? We talk about the squad later on getting lost because their cab driver goes 43 minutes out of the way. But it just seems like all these tasks are just so damn close together. Like there does not seem to be any kind of repercussions for these travel mistakes. Again, they are like, even last week we saw, we're going to change up the detour. I'm going to walk across the courtyard, right? Again, tonight, it seemed like if they wanted to change, it was right in the same building. Is that like a budget thing?
That's definitely a budget thing, because it's been like that for a long time now, where they really stay in the same area. And sometimes there's been stories about teams seeing the other teams do the other side of the detour. I want to say that's been like that for probably about 10, off the top of my head, at least about 10 seasons now, where if you switch detours, it's almost every time it's going to be like, if it's not at the exact same building or same park, it's like within the same,
like pretty close.
It's
just, I think it's way more noticeable this year for some reason. Like it's literally, you can throw a rocket where you need to go next. It's not even
just 30 attempts. Oh, yeah, right. Ninja star.
Yeah, you throw the ninja star, you might hit one of the people doing the origami by mistake. That's how close.
I mean, it's just even things like, look, we've covered, I mean, I guess it's probably like what I said now, Brian, like our 4th or 5th season based off the number we were saying. And it's just, there's been nothing this season. Every season though, before it was like, hey, you land somewhere, get in this car, you have a 2.5 hour drive to this location, right? Like there's none of that right now. Like, it's like they could Uber to everything, basically. Now,
I think
past. Don't worry, I don't want the car. I'm just gonna take an Uber. Like it's literally right over there.
yeah, for this season, I've noticed with especially with the Osaka leg, they did go outside of Osaka for a couple tasks. I think that might just be tricky editing with it making look like the locations were further apart. And then especially this Bali leg, because I've spent a few weeks in Bali, and yeah, the places they went to weren't close together. It's
Okay.
definitely not like 36 with the Port of Vallarta leg where the entire second leg or the entire first leg took place within a span of about a square kilometer, I think,
I
and there
think I
were a
remember
couple
you
other like
commenting that.
36.
I think I remember you actually commenting
Yeah, I
that
do
on
too.
video.
Yeah.
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah, and then Scott and Laurie from this season, they've been uploading separate Google Maps documents that show
Oh,
every
cool.
single pin that they took. Every time they took a wrong turn, they've been marking exactly where that wrong turn was and where they ended
Oh,
up.
that's cool.
So they've been uploading that because Joel and Garrett did that in 35, and then Jen Hudak did that in 30, where they would upload just
Yeah.
every single spot they went to.
What's your team, by the way? Who you like really rooting for?
Really room for, well, for me with a lot of these shows, I don't really get like, I'm not really the type to say, oh, I really want this team to win. I just want something interesting to happen that I can talk about afterwards, or like
Gotcha.
that's really fascinating. It's very rare for me to get invested in.
You're too deep in the game.
Yeah, I get.
You
Yeah, I
like
sort
work for the league. You can't have a rooting. You're the what's his name? Rob Lowe wearing the NFL hat
Like the
at a
commissioner.
game. Like you have no allegiance.
of.
I to be fair, I've only gotten invested in one team ever in like 5 or 6 seasons. So it
The
does
whole
not. I agree. The Holderness is yeah, yes, the Holderness. But like look, there's times, and we needed them in a dark time, and so they were there for us. We did the route info. They rode the ATV through the jungle, through the cave, chasing waterfalls like TLC. Uh, this one meant nothing though. Again, like I thought the numbers were gonna be like crap. Like if you're 9 versus 2, like you're really far behind. It was literally like 5 feet apart. It was like they were riding ponies.
Yeah, it's not like the early seasons where, yeah, if there was an equalizer like that, where you have to wait for sunrise for a ceremony to receive
Yep.
your next clue. A lot of the early seasons, not all the time, but frequently it was the sign up sheet like 8:30, eight
Yeah.
forty five, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, like nothing. There's not even like, and it's nothing like the old seasons we watch where people used to like just like, oh, you got to go to this shop. It doesn't open till 8 a.m. So we're just gonna sleep on the sidewalk outside the shop, right? Like I know we're not gonna get that, but like we're not even getting the stuff like, oh, the this boardwalk ride doesn't open till the morning. They're gonna sit on the bench out there. They're like, I feel like they're always in a hotel room at the end of the night.
Yeah, a lot of the let's 26 had a season 26 had a very infamous this place doesn't open till the morning. They put them into they filmed the first leg of 26 in Tokyo, and they put them in like an overnight office building that's like a 24-hour office
Okay.
building where office workers usually, if they miss the last train, they hang out there and watch like anime porn. So there was an infamous
Hentai.
off yeah, and the teams that we interviewed were commenting like, yeah, there was evidence that like where we were sleeping, and no one used the shower in that office building because again there was a lot of evidence there. So
Sticky
that
situation, right?
yeah.
That ended
Yeah,
it. That
really.
ruined it for everybody. That ruined the fun for everyone. No more sleeping in the streets. No
Damn
more.
anime porn.
Yeah.
Ruined the
That's a
amazing
fun
race.
fact. If I leave with anything, that was a good fun fact. The next route info sent them over to the Tampa Searing rice fields. This is where we got the roadblock. The roadblock was who's ready to rice to the occasion. This is good old fashioned threshing, right? We're just separating the rice from the stalks. This is where the driver's seat came into play. Jonathan and Anna ended up with that driver's seat. You ended up breaking up the group's assignments into weight. So there was 15, 20, 25 pound increments. Um, and this is where they've probably made the mistake now that's going to follow them the rest of the race. They decided to be both dickheads and idiots. And they literally did not think about the strategy. They did not think about the fact that they're about to use their express pass to not give someone extra weight, gave themselves a low weight, and then use an express pass, which we'll get to the efficacy and if we would have done that. But just in the respect of one, Jonathan and Anna being the ones to get at how we feel about that, and two, like what do we think about their decision-making process here, guys?
I think they're gonna regret it.
Duh.
It's tough being the guinea pig for a new twist because no one, it was sort of all right in the moment. They didn't know exactly.
Yeah.
Well, A, if you're going to be first to the board, and then B, Phil just said at the pit stop, oh, you're going to have to make decisions about this task. But that's very, very vague. It's not like they went on like RFF or like the Tar Hub Discord or something and got to get a rough idea of what the twist would be beforehand.
Yeah.
So they just see a board of like, oh, what the hell are we doing with all these weights? Okay, like they forgot that they even assigned Bernie and Kerrigan that 25-pound weight. They're like, okay, I guess we'll assign ourselves the lowest one and we'll give them 25 pounds and let's get started. Oh wait, we're not going to get started. We're using the express pass.
It's literally like stealing from poor people like they were doing it. It was so I saw that on the chart and it was like before they verbalized it and I started cackling. I was like, they are just putting these poor girls down. Like it's not even fair. Like and then to turn out that this challenge was like one of the simpler ones that we've seen in a while. I mean, there was not much of a crazy physical strain. You were an old lady, you can do it. You were a young person, you could do it. Maybe some people were more or less efficient, but like this was for them to use this, for them to look at what the challenge was and go, yeah, let's use that express pass. What? Like you deserve everything you have coming to you.
It'd be different if they tried and like, oh, I don't like this. They didn't even try.
Unreal.
Maybe Jonathan already had to use the bathroom at that point.
Yeah,
it's like,
let's get you're a guy, go pee.
Yeah, he was making it like he had to take a shit. Like he's like, I need to go to the bathroom. Getting pissed, dude. Like,
go pee.
Yeah, you just peeing. When he turns out that he just had to pee, I was like, come on, man. Like,
wait, quick check though, Logan. In Bali, if some dude was peeing outside, is this going to be like capital punishment type style here, or is this like in Jersey where the cop ain't even going to stop?
Well, in Bali, from the 2 times I've been there, about 90% of the people who are there at any given time are foreigners, and half of those foreigners are usually drunk Australian college kids on some sort of break. So
yeah, so they're pissing.
I think if it's not, as long, like Bali does have really strict religious rules. If you're in those religious areas, like a temple,
don't go pee on a shrine.
Yeah, as long as you avoid a shrine or anything related to Hinduism.
A person? Don't piss on a person.
The village elder.
Don't R. Kelly. Don't R. Kelly on Don't R. Kelly on the
children in Bali.
A poor monk.
Poor monk.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was crazy when it ended up him having to pee. I was like, dude, come on. Like,
I'm taking a break.
Or piss yourself. If you're trying to win, piss yourself. I mean, I would do it too.
You don't need to piss yourself. You can pee anywhere.
Yeah,
it's anywhere.
It's
except they get the shrines.
I can sort of understand it though, because both times I went to Bali were the 2 times I got Bali belly, which is like the worst food poison you can imagine. It's even worse than Delhi belly, depending on who you ask.
What about Montezuma's revenge?
That I have not experienced, so I can't attest to that. But Bali belly was just 3 days of just either laying in bed or going to the bathroom 40 times throughout the day, and you just feel like you're just a pale skeleton after 3 days.
Don't go to Bali then. I'm not going to Bali. I can't eat.
It's just go on a fast.
Is there any previous seasons where we had some bathroom incidents like that, or?
The most famous one was season 14, where it was the final 4 leg, and it was the penultimate leg. So you get to the pit stop in the top 3, you're in the finale. And there was a team where one person did a food eating challenge, and she kept drinking water. And they were at the pit stop area. They were going to the bird's nest as the pit stop in Beijing. And she's like, nope, got to use the bathroom. And then a team overtook her in that time, and they got eliminated in 4th place.
Unreal.
But in exit interviews, they said, no, we would have gotten last anyway, so it was a bit exaggerated in the edit. But in terms of how 99% of the audience watched the episode and how they know it happened, a team lost for going to the bathroom.
That's how I would edit it.
And then in terms of a pun, they did indeed get brought back for unfinished business 4 seasons later.
I do like that.
If they really wanted to make it cool, they make it look like they're in second place and then edit it. And every time somebody checks in, they do that cymbal sound of like her in a stall or the bathroom door that hasn't opened yet. And then it's like Phil has to go in there and knock like you've been eliminated.
Yeah, yes. You've been in there for somebody is Bolly Belly. You've been in there for 6 hours.
He's like, I'm really sorry to inform you that you've been eliminated from the race.
No, but as long as they brought the local person in with them to the bathroom.
They're right by the sink.
Welcome to Bali. Yo, get out of the bathroom. They have clean. You've been eliminated. Have fun tomorrow on your vacation day. You're pooping the whole time.
You've earned 1,000 Expedia points that can be also be spent on adult diapers.
Yeah, right.
Welcome to the Expedia Choice non-gendered bathrooms. You've been eliminated. Oh God. Jonathan had to use the express pass. Like I said, we've all agreed. Way too early. You have that. You're in the lead. Like there's just.
Right.
I guess they really wanted to make sure they banked a vacation. Like they just really wanted to make sure they had at least one more vacation in their pocket before the race was over.
Do you know what happened the last time that a team had an express pass in Bali?
That sounds like a band name, Express Pass in Bali. Let's go. What happened?
So that was with Jessica and Anders in season 22. So they had the double express pass that season, where you give an express pass away, then keep one for yourself.
Ooh,
and the other team got injured, but they still used it and won a leg. And then Jessica and Anders, when they got to the roadblock, they were in 4th or 5th place, and Anders did the roadblock. And it was one where you had to deliver a surfboard. And once you deliver the surfboard, you just walk to the pit stop. And the pit stop is in plain sight. So you see teams check into the pit stop while you're doing this roadblock. And team after team overtook him, and he refused to use the express pass. And in the history of the US version, that's the only time a team got eliminated without using the express pass.
Ooh, so you're walking with an idol in your pocket.
Yes. And then Amazing Race Canada 1 filmed around the same time, and they also had that exact same thing happen. And then since then, any team who's had an express pass just has used it right away. Express passes didn't really impact the season ever, other than that one time. So that's why they discontinued the express pass in most versions, because it's like it's not making a difference. Either a team is really strong and they just use it on the last available leg, or they just get it out of the way early. So that's why you very rarely see the express pass in a lot of versions of the Amazing Race, except for the Canadian one, which likes to do the triple express pass twist for some really stupid reason.
Interesting. Anders, man. Anytime I hear the word Anders, I think of Workaholics. So.
Oh, John is his real name. He just reminded me so much of Anders from Workaholics.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was the derpiest. Like every time he's on screen, I just couldn't help but just laugh at him the whole time. Yeah.
What season is this? I might have to watch it.
Season 22, and it's where Phil Kogan has his most infamous pit stop reaction to a team being eliminated, where he just turns to the camera after the team walks away and he just says, "Oy vey," and then cuts to the credits.
Interesting. All right. I like that. Anders.
We moved to the next route info. It was the Panglapuran village. I like this one. This was the cleanest village in Bali. Logan, is it the cleanest village, or the village is not clean in Bali?
Definitely in like Kuta and Seminyak, where the Australian college kids hang out. Those aren't very clean areas.
Because they don't give a shit.
Yeah, except for Jonathan, apparently. Yeah, like I don't think it looked like it didn't sparkle on screen. Like there wasn't like a glistening reflection off the pavement from how clean it was. But yeah, it definitely ranked up there. I don't have a top 10 ranking of cleanest streets in Bali that I have.
I'd love to see the list and like what their rankings were based on, and like this is like I want to find like the local news article that broke down why that village was the best, or if this is just Phil just deciding to
propaganda.
Yeah,
they're the ones that signed the deal. They're the ones that let him put a little floor mat on their porch and let one of their workers come outside for 6 hours and stand there. Yeah. This is when we had the Brett and Mark stuff. The cab driver brought them 43 minutes away. It's very funny. He said he typed the right thing in. The cab driver just clicked a different destination anyway. You gotta watch him click the button, guys. Like you cannot leave that up to faith.
In Bali, no one trusts the taxi drivers in Bali or in most places, but especially Bali. I'm sure the driver intentionally drove that far away to get extra
Better
money out of it.
fare.
Yeah, like even if you go to a corner store in Bali, you have to watch the change they give you back, or they'll say, "Oh, we don't have those bills. We'll give you a couple of candies instead as compensation." That
Instead of
happened
your
to me.
$100.
Oh
Or
god.
even at the money exchange currencies, they have their little machine there, and they kept changing what the exchange rate was because we kept changing our mind as to how much we wanted. It's like why did the exchange rate change like 5% in 2 seconds? How did that happen? So yeah, taxi driver I think knew what he was doing and was screwing them over.
They like hulked it at the end of that leg though. That's how what shows though. Jonathan, they should have just did it. Because he was in there like a feral animal knocking that rice out of that those stalks. Like losing his shoe, didn't care. So
Yeah,
like a foot just
not
in
at
the
all.
muck.
Uh, we can talk about the stuff we've been referring to, guys. We did the detours. So you had the penjour or the pagine. The penjours decorate the long bamboo pole arrangement. Once you had that confirmed and correct, then you had to carry it to a pretty close by location and put it in the spot that they indicated. Or you could do the pagine, which was purchase a bunch of fruit and offerings that went basically on this vertical hat tray that once you then got it correct and bought the right stuff and arranged it the right way, you would then carry it on your head to again another nearby location. To me, honestly, this is as close to a pretty much of a toss up if you're at surface level when you're making the decision compared to other ones we've seen. Now, we've been wrong with ones we ended up thinking were going to be harder, but this one seems like I don't think you could have gone wrong really either way.
I actually agree with that.
Definitely for this season, this has been the most balanced detour.
There was
Yeah,
no punishing, like real trick thing to this, right? It was be delicate, take your time. People that are better at that type of stuff are going to be better at it, right? The other one's a little bit more. I think I, I think I probably would have done the second one actually. I think I could have memorized. I think if it was say like me and a Brian, like we could be like we can memorize the five different things we need to buy, even if it's the amounts, right? And then we'll bring it back and we'll or figure out the arrangement again, right? But like I don't know if I want to sit there and paper mache crap for a while. I feel like I would just lose my patience.
Yeah, yeah, I kind of agree with that. Because I would just push people out of the way if I need to find like a little house store to find my apples.
Give me
Just
the
truck
app.
stick constantly, just these little people out of the way.
I'm trying to find the Apple Store, but I don't see an iPhone anywhere. Damn it! I got tricked again. First ninjas,
App.
now this.
Well, what if that is like what you're doing, right? You just keep going Apple, and they keep pointing you to like an Apple store. You're like, no, Apple.
Yeah, if that taxi driver was there again, he'd be like, "No, no, I'm changing it. I'm changing it."
He was an Android guy, that taxi driver, and that's where they went wrong. This is where this Jonathan at the pee break. We talked about this, just outrageous. But another thing that was outrageous was, and I'm glad it happened so quickly. I mean, people caught up to them. Right now, again, they do end up winning the leg, but there were people there with them. I mean, Scott Lurie got there. They had their first little bicker in it, which was kind of funny. But again, a lot of teams seen them, and now they're next week, literally. And I would love to know if this was already set, this leg to be the U-turn voter. They're like, yo, move that crap up. Yeah, move it up. These guys are going to get buried this week. This is perfect timing.
Yeah, it's
I
very
assume I assume it was pre-planned,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
based on all the again with the theme of the season being bringing back one old twist and a couple of new twists every single leg.
It was due. Yeah.
Yeah.
We like to think we think about our like Netflix shows and the producer manipulation, and Amazing Race is probably one of the only pure ones still left. But I'm like, hey, if it was gonna be like six guys, oh, can we do it like five? This might be good timing. Like, and it does seem like they are going to. I mean, right? Who the hell is not going to vote for them next week, right?
right,
For the U-turn vote.
right.
Although at the pit stop, they were all like that big group at the pit stop said Scott and Laurie got the um were tied for the most weight, and yet they've been doing really, really well.
They are good. They definitely are a pretty skilled. I mean, pretty adept team so far. I mean, he's been really good at the challenges. I thought she actually kind of was a little bit more the driving force this week for them. Definitely a strong team. And again, it's there's been nothing again though this so far for the first four legs that frankly has been physically demanding where I think they would lose some ground, right? I mean, I can't think off the top of my head anything that's been too physically demanding that maybe they wouldn't have as much of a advantage at comparatively so far, right? Am I not
I agree
remembering
with you. I think it's been pretty like loose. Not a
a
lot
lot
of
of Dance Dance Revolution, a lot of singing, you know.
yeah.
I mean, I like DDR, it's fine. Let's see where we at now. Okay, so yeah, John and Anna got the first approval, obviously meaning they were going to get out of there first. We did have a little bit of a mix though. We did have teams do the Pagine, Nick and Mike, Han and Holden. Uh, Again, though, like something I just note throughout here on the way to this, Bernie and Carrigan fight over the directions just to even get to the detour. They have a little modicum of hope when they do see that there are other teams still at the Penjor, but we all kind of knew where this leg was heading, guys. The
Yeah.
pit stop was the Pura Dalam Pelapuran in Panglapuran. It's an ancient stone temple. Um,
That's not
John,
specific in Bali.
very specific. It was very specific. I was like, I gotta get this right. Before we get to the actual order, Brian will take care of that. But we obviously already said this. John and Anna win. They win a trip to Croatia and Montenegro. Thanks, Expedia.
Nicest bathrooms in Europe, right?
Yeah, two of my favorite countries in Europe. They're both in my like top 10 countries
Ooh.
overall that I've been to.
So that's a nice one for them to land if they're still together by the time they go.
Yeah, what are your viewpoints on them getting back together via the Amazing Race?
Uh, it's happened before. There is precedent.
Is there more breakups because of the Amazing Race or more getting back together?
More breakups definitely because of the Amazing Race.
I think this might be a future one because he's kind of talks to her kind of crappy. All right, so I will give the order. I don't have 7 and 8 because that was that big patch of people that finished at the same time.
It
So
doesn't really matter, yeah.
They're all checking out within
Well, they're all
seconds or whatever
voting
of each other.
together too, right? So it seems like they're all going to leave
Right.
together more than likely too.
But
I
hey,
guess
I
the
bet
days when you wasn't it 12 hours? Wasn't it always 12? When did that stop?
It was never actually, it was never ever always 12 hours. It was more of a TV thing where most of the time it was 12 hours, but they would have the occasional 24-hour pit stop, 36 hours a couple times in earlier seasons. And then even in the early seasons, they would sometimes have the 8-hour pit stop, which was always really hated because you'd have to do your interviews for your confessionals after the pit stop, get debriefed, get taken to wherever the accommodation was, quickly wash your clothes if you had time. You'd have about 2 or 3 hours left to sleep, and then you were starting the next leg. Yeah, those 8-hour pit stops were already present
so you gotta
very,
do
very early
laundry.
on.
You gotta do laundry in between here.
Yep. If you had time, yeah.
So
A lot of
they don't
people
have
did
like
sync.
2 versions of the clothes.
Well, I guess just you want to keep your backpack
Backpack light.
light.
I
Yeah.
got it. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd wear the extra 3 to 5 pounds to not have to do laundry every single time.
Yeah. Well, I guess they wouldn't do it every leg, but if the if
Would you go
they
sleeveless? I think I'd go sleeveless here. I think you gotta. I don't for movement. I guess in cleaning and if I was wearing a uniform because I guess you had to wear a uniform. I would just go sleeveless and shorts. What would you do?
what if you head further north though to like if you have like a Norway leg or Sweden or
Can you wear a
Iceland?
coat? Or so you can't wear a coat.
Well, for like if you go to like way up in the mountains, then there'll be like an Amazing Race provided
Cool. So
winter
that's the
gear.
strategy. You got to like pack for all weather.
Yeah.
I think my go-to, and I've seen a lot of people do it though, is like the straightforward like Under Armour leggings, Under Armour kind of like compression sleeves, and you throw a t-shirt and shorts over it. And if you're a little hot, you can take the leggings off, right? And throw that right in your bag. That's no weight, right? And
Stinky.
kind of go that way. Maybe and I'd probably be a hat guy. I would be a hat guy for
Oh,
sure.
100%. Could you go naked? Like, what if you just wore like a banana hammock as a dude?
I mean,
Easy washing, easy, no
I think
weight.
it just depends on the country too, though.
Yeah.
Again, there's a
I'm
lot of these
not flying
countries have
volley.
so many like religious sites and just things that are just spewed throughout that like you are so apt
I
to
know.
just
I'm
offend
joking. I'm
somebody.
joking, but it'd be funny.
I know. I'm
Like a
just like,
nudist, like a nudist theme.
but again, like they could like roll up into Manhattan and just be like, yo, you have to run naked around Central Park. And there's a good chance that most of them will just make it back fine. Like they'll just never get stopped.
They've
Yeah.
done naked fast forwards before, not in the American version, but in other versions where they've had to get naked to win the fast forward. Where it'll be like a
Really?
naked modeling task, or in the Canadian version, they had to do when they posed for a painting, they had to be naked, and it was a brother sister team that had to
Oh
do it.
God. Is it
Like this is like Titanic,
is
like
it
painting like a
blurred?
French girl.
Is it blurred in other countries?
For in Australia,
The versions Logan watches.
the ass is not blurred in Australia.
So you get to see
Oh, so
crack.
they have the crack.
Yeah,
They
You get to
yeah,
see
they
got
get
the
a
crack in
crack
bone.
in
Yeah,
the
Australia.
big black
Okay.
box.
but in the Australian version, they did that exact same task, but it was like two coworkers, and they used a pineapple to cover them up for the painting. Um, but yes, there is precedent for naked fast forwards on the Amazing Race, just not the American version.
It's a bummer.
Brian, hit us with the order, at least what we got.
All right, we got Jonathan Anna first. We have Carson and Jack second, Scott and Lori third. Melinda, is it Melinda or Melissa?
Melinda.
Melinda
Melinda.
and Erica are fourth. Alyssa and Josiah are fifth. Han and Holden are sixth. Seventh and eighth, I don't know. And then we have Pops and Jeff ninth. So one of those two teams I didn't mention is seventh and eighth, but they literally all finished at the same time. So
Did you say Nick and Mike?
Nick and Mike are probably eighth, and then whatever one I didn't mention is seventh.
Was it the Dungeons and Dragons guys?
I thought that was Carson and Jack.
Yeah,
Carson,
Carson
that would
Jack
be
were
Mark.
second
It would be Brett and Mark
or
are
third.
either seventh or eighth. Okay.
Yep. There we go. Perfect.
I was thinking about you, Bill, because like that ending where they're all running the wrong way and they're all running. I was like, oh, Bill was just talking like last week. We haven't had a foot race in a while, and these like multiple teams are just running like wild horses.
The problem
through
was
Boston.
there's still one team
I know.
8 hours behind them, like sitting there still doing their paper mache. So it's like I thought about that too, Brian. I was like, God, this would be sick if there were any stakes.
Oh yeah, if this was it and they're all like
Mhm.
sprinting, like at that point, do you just push a team down? You push like somebody into the ditch? And
Have there ever
That's
been
a-
has there been a team that's gotten in trouble for physically interfering with another team?
Only within their own team. There was a husband and wife on season 6 where they were racing for first place, and the husband drops his bag and the wife goes to pick up his bag and she's crying, and then another team overtakes him for first, and he just gets so pissed off that he's like, "Why did you do that?" and just shoves her on screen. He's the most. His name was also Jonathan. So when
Unreal.
people say, "Oh, this Jonathan's terrible," I'm like, he's not even the worst Jonathan that's been on The Amazing Race. That guy is like the most hated contestant of all time. Like he was on Dr. Phil after the season aired, and of course he was a Hollywood movie producer too, which also didn't help.
Is it Victoria?
Yes, Victoria. Yeah, he
There's
shoved
a little.
Victoria.
It's just on YouTube as the shove.
The shove, yeah. And then he was on. They were on Fear Factor when Joe Rogan was hosting it, and Jonathan confronts because Joe Rogan says or Victoria shoves Johnny Fairplay because Fairplay was heckling them at a task, and then Joe Rogan's like, "You can't shove other people. It's fine if you shove each other, but you can't shove other teams and other contestants." And then Jonathan gets in his face, and next thing you know, Joe Rogan has Jonathan in a headlock on Fear Factor.
dang. Yeah, we gotta we'll watch these old seasons at
Wait,
some
this
point.
guy's a real piece of crap. He drops his pack. Like you got to bring the
Yeah,
pack, right? Like
he
you got to bring the pack. Why doesn't he just bring his pack?
Because I think that I think the rule might have already been established. As long as Phil can see your backpack, it counts. But it's a really heavily touristy area of Berlin where they had the pit stop. But yeah, he drops his pack and she's like, "No, somebody's going to steal it." Which I agree with Victoria. Somebody probably would have stolen the bag given the area. And yeah, then he just shoves her and says, "Why did you take my bag?" And then Phil's like, "You're team number 2. But Jonathan, I think you should go talk to your wife right now. I think she's unhappy because you just physically assaulted on her, physically assaulted her on national television. So try to get any grace left that you may still have."
Right.
Yeah,
funny.
dude, Jonathan and Victoria on Dr. Phil. Unreal.
Different
Wow.
times, man. Different
That's a
times.
different lore.
I
I saw
wish,
somebody had a video on their YouTube. It was like the history behind the Amazing Race's most hated team. Would you say they're the most hated team?
yeah, it's not even like anytime you see like an Amazing Race rank down, they're always like,
All
no,
right, so we know what we
John,
got to do, Brian. We know what we need to invest in. Um,
it's, yeah, good luck with
Logan,
that season.
Logan, let everyone know what you have going on content wise. Maybe some fun stuff coming up.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm still podcasting with RTV Warriors. We've been podcasting for over almost 12 years now. So we
Sick.
originally were like one of the original Amazing Race uh, pod, podcast recappers, but we don't really do Amazing Race anymore unless it's a historian season once every couple of years. So now we podcast about the Dutch version of the Mole and the current season of the Belgian version of the Mole. Belgian version of the Mole is, in my opinion, the best competitive reality show globally. So every year in May, when the finale happens, we're always there in attendance. Um, Other than that, not too much in terms of official content. Just on my YouTube channel, I've been adding everyone's recaps on YouTube into a playlist for each episode. You guys are one of 20 or so recap podcasts per usual. And yeah, just my random commentary across social media about the Amazing Race. But yeah, nothing super set in terms of actual like consistent projects that I've been doing right now.
Will we ever get the end of the two blog seasons?
Yes, you will. Yes, you will.
I got him on camera now, Brian. No, they're great. You guys, if you don't know what I'm talking about, we'll link that in the video too. But the TARstorian recap commentaries are awesome. You get to really, honestly, it is a one-stop shop to see everybody's kind of takes on things, and Logan highlighting them does kind of help me and other people go, I'm gonna try this type of content, want to try this type of content. So it's a good thing you do for people, man. It's cool.
Yeah, I've only had, I think, because there's been about close to 30 podcasts that did it while I was doing those ranking of the recap blogs, because I did it for 33, most of 34, most of 35 that I still have to finish. Um, and yeah, I think there's only been two recap podcasts that got really pissed off. One of them was like a really, really popular recap podcast that shall remain nameless, where they did not find it funny or amusing because their ego has gotten
Losers.
one individual on that podcast, their ego has gotten really, really inflated to where we were at the same finale party for Amazing Race 35, and somebody sent me a screenshot of that person posting, "Oh, what would you do if you knew you were going to be in the same room as the biggest troll on the internet?" Apparently, that was about me.
Was this person also on the Challenge USA?
No,
Okay.
no, they were not.
Okay.
Brian was like, I'm gonna try to fish here.
I was fishing a little bit.
We appreciate it, guys. We love these recaps. Thank you, as always. Check out everything else we have going. If you're a CBS fan, we are covering Survivor. If you are any other kind of reality TV fan, we got everything from Netflix to TLC, everything and anything in between. Check out the playlist here on YouTube. Hit that notification bell and check out our TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all at The Reality Guys. But until next time, for myself, Brian, Logan, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Peace.